Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I was hoping to have my D&D 5th edition year-end review video out, uploaded and edited and everything, but I found out this morning that all the stuff that I recorded yesterday, all of the video files, with the exception of the 1.5 minute intro clip that I had, were completely corrupted. I couldn't even play them on the camera itself. This has been happening a little too much lately, and I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm hoping that I could just buy a new SD card for the camera, and hopefully that'll fix it. Because the one that I have in here now is pretty old, and maybe that's what's causing some of these issues. But I've been losing, and it's never a situation where the video file gets corrupted for like a short 5-minute video. It only does it for ones that I put like a couple of hours into, in terms of like going through and trying to come up with what I want to say, or, you know, recording. It's just been kind of frustrating, and I was going to try to re-record all of that today, but I'm still kind of ticked off, honestly. And I think I'm just going to push that one off until next week. So tomorrow I am hoping to record my Pathfinder 2nd Edition Buyer's Guide video, and because that one should be a little bit easier. And then next week I will do my D&D 5th Edition year-end review, as well as maybe like a holiday gift guide video if I decide to go ahead and do that. But today, to fill in, I thought I would do a pickup video, because I have some things that have been sitting on my table for me to do this video on for the last couple of months now, ever since the last one. In fact, there were some things I added like the day after I recorded the last pickup video. So I just wanted to get that sort of done and out of the way, and I can put the stuff away and not have to worry about it anymore. And it's just something that'll be a lot easier to do without me being really irritated by wasting basically the entire afternoon yesterday thinking that I had everything done and ready to go, and not. So anyway, the first thing I want to show here, so of the pickups, the first couple things I want to show here are actually some comics. I'm not a big comic collector, but there are certain series that I like. So the first one that I want to show here is actually issue 3 of Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons & Dragons. This is the Chapter 2 story called Painscape. This is issue 3 of, I suspect, 4. I think the last one was 4 issues as well. I wasn't really as taken with the second story so far. I read the first issue and I was kind of meh towards it. And the second issue, I only read the first couple of pages, and then I put it down for like a month. Or even longer, until I picked this up, and then I finally, because I wanted to read through this one, I finished the second one, and I'm starting to really warm up to the story. But I think that the charm of the first series was all of the callbacks to like old school D&D stuff that really wasn't as present in this series. There's a little bit of that here now, and even a little bit in the last issue, but I don't know. I think that the first story overall was better, but this has still been pretty cool to read through so far. And the cover has an owlbear on it, so you can never go wrong with an owlbear. Up next is something that I had no idea was coming out, but this is the Dungeons & Dragons Baldur's Gate Go for the Eyes collection. So this is 100 pages of D&D comics. And you have, you know, Boo on the cover here, the gigantic, or the miniature gigantic space hamster. With the back cover is just a reproduction of the Boo issue of the Evil in Baldur's Gate? Or the last series of the comics anyway, featuring like Minsk and Boo in them. But I do love this cover with all the different things, like eating the cherry and having his tummy full because he was eating the cherry. The angry Boo. The sleepy Boo, and then the Boo that went for the eyes. But what this is actually issue 1 of all of the different stories that have been done with this group of characters so far. So yeah, you have Legends of Baldur's Gate that they did. This is the one where Minsk and Boo made their returns. You also had the Ravenloft storyline, Shadows of the Vampire. and then after that you had the Frost Giant's Fury, which was the Storm King's Thunder tie-in story. And then you had Evil at Baldur's Gate, which was sort of just its own standalone thing. I don't think this was actually connected to any of the ongoing stories at the time, but it's really, really cool to have all of these together. I will also say that the writer here, Jim Zub, I don't know how he ever came to know about me at all, but he had made a post on Twitter mentioning a whole bunch of gaming channels on YouTube that he wanted to send out an advanced PDF copy of the latest chapter, like the latest comic in the series with like Minsk and Boo and all these characters in it, and it's based off of the Descent to Avernus storyline. So I got in touch with him, and he sent me the PDFs, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, but I'm going to probably do that either today or tomorrow. And I will do a video on that absolutely, as I also 100% plan on collecting the physical copies as well. But I was pretty blown away by that, because like I said, there's no way that I deserve to even be anywhere near the radar of someone such as this. But anyway, just some really, really cool stuff here. And again, this is a great way to experience, like I said, it's the opening chapters only, but if you like what you see there, then you can start collecting the other issues. Most of these I think have trades as well, but this is a really awesome compilation, and there are a couple of the issues in here that I never had, so it'd be really cool to read through those. So really happy to have that. Alright, up next, before we get into the gaming, the tabletop role-playing stuff, there are a few other things that I want to kind of show here. Let me just rearrange a couple of things here. So, first is actually a movie that I picked up, and this is the Jigsaw movie. So, I've been a fan of the Saw series for quite some time now, and I mean, it's not for everybody. The series is definitely not for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the movies, and I think that as much as a reputation as this series has, for especially the most recent movies, I think I think everyone should try to watch at least the first Saw movie, because it's not the ultra-violent, gory, type of torture fest that I think everyone associates the Saw movies with. The first one just was a really good movie all on its own. It didn't have the gore, didn't have the violence. They didn't really have the budget for it, which meant they had to be creative with how they told their story. And I think that the first one was an absolutely amazing movie. And I kind of wish that I hadn't watched the third movie first, because I just had like free rentals when I was working at a place that rented movies, so I grabbed those because those were the earliest ones that they had. Because it hugely spoiled the twist of the first movie, but it was so well done that I think people should see it. That said, the series does get pretty rough as it goes, but this one here I haven't seen yet. This is the most recent one, came out just a couple of years ago, I think. And what was interesting is when I decided to pick this up, the store that I went to had the Blu-ray as actually being $2, I think $2 or $3 cheaper than the DVD. So we have a Blu-ray player, and yeah, I definitely picked this one up on Blu-ray because it was the cheaper version. So really happy to have that. Haven't opened it yet or watched it yet, but I do plan on doing that very soon. Up next, we got some video game related stuff. So the first one here is Metroid Samus Returns for the Nintendo 3DS. I've been trying to find this game for the last couple of years, basically ever since it came out. It just never seemed to get restocked at like Walmart or places like that, or if they had it, it was just too expensive for what I really wanted to pay for just a handheld game. But in the last year or so, there have been a couple of times where I would go to like Toys R Us, which we still have in Canada. It's a different company than the US version, and Future Shop, that's gone. Best Buy, and both of those stores have like display cases that they put out, and then you take the display case to the cash, and then they find if they have it in their drawer, their storage locker, whatever they put their games. And both of those stores do a terrible job of sorting their inventory to make sure that they're not advertising games that they don't have. So both instances, I couldn't find it. So finally, I found myself at a Source by Circuit City store in Halifax, and they actually had a copy of this. But the best thing was that this copy was on clearance. So as you can see there, Metroid Samus Returns 3DS. It was on clearance for $9.96 Canadian prices, but the regular retail was $60 on this. So it was basically $50 off to finally get my hands on this, and it's actually the game that's currently in, that's currently in my 3DS. And apparently I'm having trouble holding on to it. Up next is my one and only Black Friday purchase, which I actually made on Monday. For those watching, for anyone watching in America, Black Friday in Canada is nothing like what it is in the States. There are some good sales, but in general, the sales that go on in Canada on Black Friday seem to be pretty on par with what regular sales might be throughout the year. They just happen to have a few more of them going on at the same time. It's not really anything like, there's nothing that really ever blows me away in terms of like, wow, that's such a deal. For example, I have a Nintendo Switch, and I was looking for Switch games, and the games that they had there, the only ones that were on sale were things like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was a launch title that came out a couple of years ago, and instead of it being an $80 game, Canadian, $79.99, it was $59.99, so it was $20 off, and that was kind of the biggest deals, were these like $20 off of the retail price sort of thing. However, there was one game that I did pick up because even with that like $20 discount, it was still only a $30 game, and that is Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. So I'm trying to get more Final Fantasy games in my collection. I have the original NES one on the NES Classic. I have Final Fantasy 4, which was released as 2 on the Super Nintendo, downloaded on my Wii. I have Final Fantasy 6, which was released here as 3 on my Nintendo Wii, as well as the SNES Classic. Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation Classic, and I have Final Fantasy 9 downloaded on the Switch. So I really wanted to pick this one up here, and this one has a job system, which it's not like the other job system games where you can keep switching on the fly. You basically, when you get a new character in the party, you can assign a job to them, and they're stuck with that until I think later on you can add a second job or you can switch. And I hope you can, because I know I've already made really horrible decisions for all my characters. But I've been playing this one a little bit and really enjoying it. And just so you're aware, this is not the art that was normally on the case. So when I got it, this was the artwork that they had, which was okay, I guess. But it was one of the ones with like the reversible art on it, and this is the one that I thought just looked way better, so I immediately flipped that over. And it still has the red spine as well, which works really well. So really enjoying it so far. Really, really happy to pick this up. Alright, up next is a mini console that is what I consider to be the last one that I needed to complete the set of mini consoles that have been coming out over the last couple of years. This is the Commodore 64 Mini, or the C64 Mini, and it's shaped like the old classic breadbox Commodore 64. And we haven't really done anything with this yet, but growing up I had a friend who had the redesigned version of the Commodore 64, and we used to play games on it all the time, especially like the Jumpman game here. That was a big part of our childhood growing up, and this was on sale for, when this first came out, I think it was about a $90 product, because I remember we actually bought this for my fiance's father last year for Christmas, and it was like a $90 purchase, and this was down to like 30 bucks, I think it was. So it was a pretty big discount off of the original price. And we have all the other major ones like this, the NES and SNES Classic, the PlayStation Classic, Sega Genesis Mini, and so we thought we'd pick this one up. There are also some games on here, or not on here, but there's some games for the C64 that I know that the missus would really like to put on there, and this is a really easy system to add stuff for, and it's actually officially supported methods for you to add new games to your C64 Mini by the company that produced this. So really looking forward to doing that. I know she wants to add Lemmings to this, and I think that'd be. I only ever played that game once. I loved it at the time, so I'd love to have that on here again. So really happy to have that. Alright, and the last few things that we have here are all related to tabletop RPGs. So we're actually going to start with the Tome of Beasts for 5th edition D&D. This is a D&D 5e open gaming license product, and this is the Pocket Edition, although realistically you are not going to be fitting this inside of a pocket, but this is the paperback version of the hardcover, and I was interested in this book for a while now, and I was considering picking it up, but I just didn't want to pay the price for the hardcover, which I think was around $60 or $70. But this one was only, I think, $25. The retail price was $21.99 US, but I think this was actually pretty fairly priced. I think it was about $25 or $26 Canadian is what I paid for it. And there's some cool, interesting monsters in here, although a lot of them just have really bizarre sounding names that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But it is, pretty cool stuff in here. There's some nice dragons that I'd be interested in. Starspawn of Cthulhu, which has sort of an interesting look to it, more insectile than squid-like, but there's still some cool stuff in here. I think there was a Shoggoth in here as well, if I can find that quickly, or maybe I'm completely mistaken. Maybe I'm completely mistaken. Oh well. I thought there was, but anyway, it's been a little while since I looked at this. I've had this for a few weeks now, but like I said, it was on for a pretty good price, so I thought, why not pick this up. So really happy to have this, and it'll be cool to look through it a little more detail, and hopefully I will try to have some sort of review for this out in the next month or so. I can't guarantee anything at this point, but this was a really cool purchase. This was, I'm not going to lie, this was 100% an impulse buy, absolutely, but I was still happy to find this and pick it up. Alright, up next we have a couple of, we have some accessories here. So the first two are going to be flip mats by Paizo. The first one here is the Pathfinder Flip Mat Classic. And this is the one for the Hamlet. And honestly, just having a map of like a town square with some buildings around it, you'd be surprised how often something like this might actually come into play. And I have a couple of maps that are sort of like this, not 100%, but it's nice to have variety. And again, you just never know when you might have something like attack, a town, or the players have to defend against something. So it's just really cool to have that. And on the flip side has some like cellars, it looks like, which again, or just the insides of buildings, which again is really cool. I do like that quite a bit. So just really nice map overall, and I love these things. Maps are some of my favorite accessories, so just having these can give you just opportunities to come up with creative stories or creative ideas of how you can incorporate that map into an adventure or interesting encounter. And I had someone comment that the maps are essentially one-use items, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you can get tons of use out of each and every individual map. The key is to just space them out and not use them too many times in a row, sort of thing. So, for example, I probably wouldn't use this map if like too many times in a single campaign, but if you run with multiple groups or you'd run another campaign, you know, a year or so later, you know, you can break out these maps again. So I think that they can be reused. It's just a matter of having lots of stuff in between to sort of to break up the repetitiveness of reusing maps. So just have some stuff to use before you reuse you know, a map over again. The next one here is for Starfinder, and this is an Undercity map. So this is the section of a city where sort of a little bit more lawless maybe, or the characters have to track like a criminal or someone, a person of interest into like these areas. I believe this one has like a factory on one side, and what does it say here? Right, so you have machinery that fill the underbelly of a city or space station on one side, and a futuristic mechanized manufacturing plant on the other. So, again, some cool stuff that you can do with these. Again, I love these products, absolutely, so I'm happy to have these. And if nothing else, they're great for just a little pickup game. You see a map and you're like, I think I have an idea for that. And if you ever do like a one-off game, you can pull this out and run whatever story you came up with for it. And up next, we have the Starfinder Dawn of Flame Pawn Collection series. So these are the cardboard, like the 2D cardboard stand-up figures for the Starfinder role-playing game. I have a few of these sets already, and this one contains basically all of the unique monsters or NPCs or ships that are presented in the Dawn of Flame Adventure Path story specifically. And this is great because I'm actually going to be running the Dawn of Flame Adventure Path for a group of friends. We were running a D&D campaign, but a couple of the members had to take a break while they were doing stuff with like university. So this is something that I'm going to actually end up getting like immediate use out of. And really happy to have this again because these come in really handy. I'm actually running the Dead Sons Adventure Path for my monthly group that I run out of Giant Robot Comics here in Dartmouth. And I have the pawn set for that as well. And it just really comes in handy when you're running the specific adventure to have the actual named NPCs and unique monsters and stuff for it. So absolutely love these products. I missed out on a couple of the Adventure Path pawn series collections, but I am hoping to find them at some point. And then the last thing that we're going to show here is something that I honestly never saw myself picking up, but I managed to save a decent amount of money off of it, and the discount that I ended up getting off of it is what convinced me to pick it up, and that is the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica dice set. So I picked these up from a Kohl's bookstore. Kohl's is a division of Chapters Bookstore, which is a big Canadian bookstore chain. Chapters themselves tend to be like standalone buildings that they're all their own thing. And Kohl's tend to be the chapter stores that go into malls. So that's where I was. I was at the Halifax Shopping Center, and I saw this there, and the Chapters has a point system. And you save up points and you get discounts on your purchase. So I had $10 off in points, and it's like, you know what, with the $10 off, there's not much else that was coming out to the bookstore that I saw myself wanting to get, so I decided to pick this up. Now I think this has been sitting there for a while because it is a little dinged up, some dents and scratches and stuff like that. I suspect this was probably there for the better part of the last year ever since this was released. But it's still something that instead of paying the $33.95, I ended up getting $10 off, so it was $23.95. It was still a little bit more than I would have liked to have paid, but it was less than the Tome of Annihilation dice set. And realistically, if I can get this, the tin is a little difficult to work with sometimes. But realistically, this is just a nicer dice set than the Tome of Annihilation ones. So my point of view was if I could get one of these sets for less than what I paid for that, then I would do it. And that's sort of what happened here. I was able to pick this up. It's got the giant D10 with all the different guild symbols on it if you ever have to roll randomly for a guild. That's there. But yeah, so like I said, I saved $10 off the cover price, the retail price, and I was pretty happy with that because it does come in a nice tin. The dice do look nice, and this does complete the Ravnica set for me. I have no interest in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist dice set at all, even if it was... And the only way I would buy that one is if I get it for like $15, which is never going to happen. But this one here, it did come in the tin. The dice do look nice themselves, and I was able to get it for what I consider to be a fair price. It was even less than the US retail price. So I decided, you know, what the heck, bit the bullet, had the points to use, so I decided to use them. Anyway, so those have been my pickups for the last couple of months, I guess ever since October, now that we're into December. So let me know in the comments below what are some of the cool things that you have added to your collection. If you did the Black Friday stuff, did you get any good deals? Let me know some of the things you may have picked up there. Or if you managed to do sort of like I did and pick up something that you never thought you would just because you was able to get it at a price that you felt was reasonable. Again, I love to hear some of the awesome things that you guys managed to find. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully for understanding that the video I was hoping to have today turned into this huge cluster of an issue to deal with, and I'm just going to record that one next week. But tomorrow I should have my Pathfinder buyer's guide for 2nd edition out. That one's again going to be an easier and quicker one, I think, to be able to get through. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.